Speaking of musical influences, can you walk us through some of those early conversations when you, Lauryn, and Pras got together? And you were telling me before we got on here just how each one of you kind of brought your influence to the table.
All right. So this is the real story, because you know there's the internet story, then I'm going to give you the real story. So one day I'm in my daddy church, and Pras come to me. And Pras wanted to join my band in the church. And we was like, yo, what do you play? And he was like, he plays trumpet. So we was like, go ahead, man, play some trumpet. And he took the trumpet. It was the worst trumpet sound I heard in my life. But I was like, this guy's cool, he's funny, and he got character and personality. He's going places. So we kept him around. And so Pras joined the church because he was coming from another church. And one day Pras comes to me and says, yo, I got a band. I put this band together with these two girls, but I need somebody to do the reggae part. So honestly, to be real with you, I had no intentions of what this whole thing was because I'm a teenager, right? So I'm like, what do the girls look like, man? That's like, you know, you're young, you're heated at the time. I'm like, yo, what these girls look like? He's like, yo, man, these girls are pretty. But I know you, man. You can't be trying to come talk to them. I was like, all right, no problem, I'll be there, show up. And we showed up, and it was a cool setting, because at the time, someone who doesn't get a lot of credit for the Fugees is a producer by the name of Khalees Bayan. He's like the original Kool and the Gang producer. He's the first guy that had us in the studio, and after we did this, whatever the four of us did, he was like, there's magic going on here. And he sort of like was the guy that helped us get to the first stage, which was the album that ended up becoming Blunted on Reality. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how Lauryn came into the equation. You were telling me that she was really into R&B back then.
Yeah, so the way that me and Lauryn, we hooked up, you know, I saw her in the group, and I was like, man, she's banging. And then I saw the other girl in the group too, her name was Marcy. I was like, man, this girl is banging. I was a confused child. Either confused or horny, one of them. So, but the cool thing was, Lauryn was, the whole education of R&B was she had it to a whole nother level that I've never seen. And coming from where I came from, you know, I was listening to Petra, I was listening to Bob Marley, I was listening to like Pink Floyd, you know? And she basically always had these vinyls, and it was like, what's this? Four Tops. What's the Four Tops? And she would put it on. The person I already knew was Marvin Gaye, but then she'd put on these Nina Simones, and we was trading off information. So what you do online today when you share music, that's what I would say we was naturally doing without knowing what we were doing. So the Fugees is eclectic because Pras has a certain style of music that he loves, he brings to the table. Lauryn has a style, I have a style. And when you put the three, you fuse that together, you definitely get what ended up being that sonics of the Fugees.
And you even told me that Pras brought Metallica to the table?
Oh yeah, Pras brought Metallica to the table. He brought Guns N' Roses, you know? Welcome to the jungle! So he brought all of that. And me as a guitar player, you know, I loved Police, the Synchronicity. So, and then as a guitar player, I had to learn Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here, because until you learned Wish You Were Here, you know, you couldn't really show up. Then I learned Jimi Hendrix and all of that. So all of this, in the beginning, we was clear. We said from the gate, I was like, look, we can't be a hip hop group. I said, we'll never last. I said, we have to be a hip hop band. I said, that's the only way we're gonna last forever. And then so the Fugees is really a band. Like that's like a hip hop band. Because we was like, yeah, we're gonna be singing, we're gonna be playing, we're gonna put choruses in the music. So it was just a different sound at the time. Because everyone was going one way. And we decided that we was gonna go this way, you know?
Tell me the role that, the Boogie Basement, how did you guys create the vibe in there?
So all of the kids and all the adults that are doing music out there, It's important to know that this CD, the score, was created inside of a basement. So inside of my uncle's basement, I created this, what you end up hearing, which is the score. So that means that I used to go to Sam Ash. I couldn't afford the equipment. I would read everything at Sam Ash until they kicked me out. And when they would kick me out, now it was time to do the score. We ain't really had no money. So what I had to do was figure out how this was gonna work. So the first thing is, I learned how the human mind listens to frequencies. Now, a lot of people out there was probably like, yo, Clef was high, he was smoking a lot of weed. Now you're right, but at the time, right, what I noticed was, if I couldn't afford a Fender Rhodes, because it was like over $3,000 and we was about to do Killing Me Softly, how the hell can I get the public to really think that it's a Fender Rhodes when it's not a Fender Rhodes, right? The only way I did that was, there was a small machine at the time which was called a S900. And the S900 has a sine wave. Don't worry, motherfuckers, you ain't dead yet. But this sine wave, when you applied it to something that was called MIDI controller, you can play it back on any kind of keyboard. And then it would sound like a Fender Rhodes. So anything that you hear in the universe is manipulated by sine waves, right? So you can hear, that's really a sine wave. So the whole score was done with a small amount of equipment that, if we went into a big studio, would cost us millions because of everything we really read and I understood at Sam Ash. And the reason it's called the Booger Basement was because the booger is nasty when you little. It's like, ew, man. You got the booger, you got the cooties. And what was coming out of that basement was so nasty. That funk was so dirty. That's why it's called the Booger Basement.
Tell me a little bit about the influence that Salam Remi had on the Fugees. You were telling me that watching him and the MPC kind of inspired you. Can you tell the audience a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Salam Remi, he reminds me of like Thelonious Monk of hip hop, you know, at the time. And the Fugees did an album which was called Blunted on Reality. How many people got that album, Blunted on Reality? Cool. I so thank y'all because that album flopped. But that album, Blunted on Reality, after we did that, we thought, you know, the reality of when you get signed, you think you're gonna blow up, it goes right out of the window, right? So we had the freshman jinx, it didn't work. And so Sony, Jeff Burrows at the time was like, look, Sony was like, well, we hear that they have a great live show and no one can compete with them live. Let's send them to Europe. The Europeans love that live music stuff. Send them to Europe. So when they said that, one product manager was like, yo, but there's a guy named Salam Remi. Let's send them to do a song, possibly with him, before we go to Europe. Now, Salaam, of course, he was our age and understood us more than the first project that was done. So the first thing we walked in, Salaam was like, yo, you're super talented, and it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. And Salaam was like, we gotta dumb it down for the public, because y'all just doing too much. Like, y'all singing, y'all dancing, y'all doing flips, y'all rapping, y'all look like hip-hop aliens. Like, these knuckleheads ain't gonna get this shit. Y'all gotta simplify it, Clef. Bring it back to, just think about the block. Just simplify it. And he sent each of us in the booth to rap for 20 minutes, because that's how long we can rap without stopping. You know what I mean? At the time. I could still go hard like that. So he sends me, I go in the booth first, and I'm going, and 3 minutes in, I'm like, yo, Mona Lisa, can I get a date on Friday? And if you're busy, I wouldn't mind taking Saturday, and I'm still going. Then Lauryn goes in, the battle was, you know, and then we leave. He takes the record and he cuts it into eventually what becomes Nappy Heads. And to me, so that session, watching it, and as a jazz student of complete jazz, and of what I was like, oh, I have to add this arsenal to what I'm doing. So then I started getting more into the electronic side of more so the physicality of the SP, the MP, how can I manipulate it at, you know? And that all came from me watching to see how Salaam worked at the time.